Greetings and welcome to this week's episode of UC Weekly News. I'm your host, David Danto, and can you guess where I am? We're at this year's Enterprise Connect, which for the first time isn't happening at the Gaylord Palms in Florida. It's happening here at Caesars Forum in Las Vegas. We're going to chat with my partner, Dave Michels. We're going to have some other interviews and talk with some other people and show you some scenes for the show. This is going to be a good one. Stay with us. So I'm here with my good friend, known in the industry for many years, Pete Kolak. Pete, good morning.
Good morning.
You're going to give a presentation today at Enterprise Connect, right? What's it about?
It's about standardization of conference rooms.
Why is that important?
Well, I'll tell you, but it's important.
Stay here for the conversation. No.
We'll see you in a minute. It's important because I think that most people kind of forget about how important standardization is for the fluid support, the customer familiarization when they're in the rooms, making sure that the conference rooms don't give them trouble. It's really important to me that the user interface is the same, because when you interfere with people's flow of their meeting, and you interfere with, say, 10, 15 minutes of their meeting because they're trying to make the room work, I feel like that loss of productivity is a pretty huge impact on the company, and over and over and over every day that happens.
Now, you've been doing this for a while for a number of enterprises, right?
Yeah.
Why don't you give us a bit of a history, bit of your history?
Started with Adobe, and then we moved over to Juniper, where at Juniper we actually created our first standardization for conference rooms based on the size, and then we deployed those throughout, and it really picked up efficiency. And when we went to Intuit, we actually were able to record that our proactive response to issues increased to 80%. So we were able to fix problems before they were there because we had standardization tools for monitoring standardized equipment, and we had people that were familiar with those ways to fix those rooms. Mm-hmm. Cabling is a huge thing when you talk about standardization. When I took down a monitor once at one of our sites, there was 120 feet of power cables behind the monitor. The box that held the equipment was stuffed with power cables. So that was my first clue in, like, oh, we got to start standardizing.
It's like my lab in my basement, drawers and drawers of cables I'll never need.
Yep. So that was a big wake-up call for me. And then from there it grew into, hey, if we're going to standardize cabling, let's standardize equipment for spares, for support, for customer user interface, back before Zoom and those guys took over. But that was my big wake-up call.
Okay. And you did all that through the pandemic as well, right? Now,
yes.
We were local, you were remote, you were going back and forth, and the standardization helped you through that as well,
It did,
right?
yes.
Okay, terrific. So if somebody's not here at Enterprise Connect that didn't see your presentation, tell everybody how they can get in touch with you and find out more information.
You can reach me at kolakca@yahoo.com. That's KOLAKCA@yahoo.com. Or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Terrific. Pete, thanks very much.
Right,
Again, appreciate it. Have a great presentation.
We'll
be right back.
This is what I came here to hear, experience. It's the thing I needed to move forward. Hopefully, this is that experience for you. The question that was top of mind as you walked into this week, the problem you were hoping to go after, the idea you would want to advance, hopefully you're having those conversations, you're connecting with the people that are giving you the ideas that you need for what's next. Good morning. I love the energy in this room already. I want to start with a quick story this morning, and it starts with an employee attempting to answer a simple question. They look through their notes, emails, documents, and then a modern day version of Where's Waldo begins in their work life.
This is really frustrating. I love my iPhone, and I love working with it, but I can't get any of my enterprise communication capabilities on this, and I really can't get a good signal in here. We should have some sort of solution.
David?
Oh, look, it's Rich Bays from Cisco. Hey, Rich, how are you?
I'm good. Good to see you. I have a solution for you.
Okay, what is it?
So this is the new wireless 9821 phone from Cisco.
Okay.
We just announced it. It's coming out in summer this year, and this is going to bring enterprise AI features to you in the front line, so you can make sure you can get AI note taker. But on top of that, it's also tactile. So you're not like sitting there, spamming around trying to find on the smartphone.
The soft buttons.
The soft button, all this. Because when you're like in a healthcare situation or you're in a manufacturing, you need the ability to quickly make those buttons and make those confirmed choices. But on top of that, we have some brand new features in this too. For example, we have a action button on the side here. This action button can be configured so that anyone, you can be, for me, maybe it's I need help, or maybe it's like, an action saying I've finished my job.
Open a cabinet case, or come meet me in the warehouse.
Exactly.
Or,
It's fully configurable in Control Hub, so managed by Control Hub.
So same as with the other phones.
Same thing. Phone OS. Phone OS is on this device as well, and that's amazing because
but
now.
But it's not going to work really well because DEC doesn't have that much of a range in a warehouse.
This is wireless, not DEC.
So it's running off of Wi-Fi?
Yes.
So if there's a Wi-Fi signal?
And you have Wi-Fi throughout your environment, so it works anywhere you have Wi-Fi in your environment.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, we also have some brand new features as well, because this is made for the frontline worker.
Okay.
So for example, man down, so if you fall over and we need to get help, we can detect if you've fallen over. We've got an accelerometer in here. But the accelerometer also does other things. It allows us to say if it's at speed, we can detect all the metadata. So we can say where the phone's traveling around, and we can bring it to all other users as well. Like this, and actually the best part about this, if you have the 8821 wireless phone,
the last
version, the same docking station support works for this. So we made it compatible with that, so you can just upgrade the phone only. You don't need to upgrade the entire environment.
That's cool. That's going to save a bunch of money for people that are using it.
Exactly. So like this phone is going to really, I think, change how frontline workers work. Because before, and you have to play around with it, like before we had AI.
Nice
only,
and light.
Yeah,
I
nice
love that the issue that I have with the new phones is that you can't hold them in one hand and reach the top with your thumb. You have to use two hands. This one you can operate the entire thing with one hand.
And the cool part about this as well is like, so we talk about like AI note taker, right? Like an AI note taker for the knowledge worker is amazing. It's an amazing feature when you're in a meeting room and having that. But what happens if you're in the field and you need to quickly like take some notes because you're like summarizing a problem statement, or you say there's an incident and you're like, I want to take those notes and make sure I can put it into the report. You don't have to sit there and like your notepad out and scribble. You can just press a button here and get AI note taker and get that experience.
And that goes back into Control Hub. It goes back to your personality, to your logon, and you have that right in your system.
Exactly.
That's some great features.
It really changes productivity because this is like about helping the frontline worker be more productive to do what really matters to them, which is their job. They shouldn't have to have technology and fumble around in that scenario.
Exactly.
So this is a game changer.
It's not for everybody, but when you're in an environment like this, that's an enormous warehouse or an enormous facility, you now have something you can carry around. So is it available yet?
No, it's coming out in summer this year.
Okay. Anything else people need to know in order to find it, to buy it, to get information?
Reach out to your Cisco representative or go online on cisco.com or webex.com and you can find information about this device.
And you can also find my friend Rich Bays on LinkedIn if you look for him. Thank you very much for stopping by.
Thank you, David.
Really appreciate it.
Good to see you.
Cool phone.
So our topic today, the future of meetings and meeting rooms, how does it change the discussion? It's a great question. First, I'm going to ask each of the panelists to introduce themselves. And for about 30 seconds, no more, and then we'll jump into question one. Sam, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sam Kennedy. I'm the Executive Vice President of Go-to-Market for NetSpeak. We're a startup company focusing on, we built an AI platform focusing on the administrative side of AV digital signage. So really what we're doing is we built a platform to keep the rooms up and running. I've been in the industry for years.
Hi, I'm Jeff Smith. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Zoom. Previously, extended Dolby Laboratories, previously WebEx. So Cisco brethren over here.
Good if you admit that whole history there.
But that's where the front end is going.
Hi, I'm Rich Bays. I'm the head of product for collaboration devices at Cisco, based out of Oslo, Norway. Been at Cisco now for 7 years. Before that, I've been at Microsoft in work with AI, actually, at Microsoft, and also been a general partner doing consultancy for AV tech for about 7 to 8 years before that. Was about 15 years to double.
Cool. Well, we'll pretend Ilya is sitting here. We'll give him the tough ones.
So we're not in New York, New York. We're in Las Vegas for Enterprise Connect, as you know, but we figured we'd go out of the casino or the Caesars Forum at some point and get a little bit of a view. So that's the mini Brooklyn Bridge in New York, New York. And I'm here with my friend Kevin Killer. Kevin, good to see you as always, of course. You had a great session today about Microsoft Copilot. Tell us about how that went.
Yeah, I mean, I think the session went well. I try to provide lots of, updates and value to the audience. It was, they shortened the session, so they're only 30 minutes long, which I think is a little too short to
It was
cover.
a lot of crammed information in a short period of time.
Yes, high value for the number
No
of
Q&A.
minutes. No Q&A.
Slide.
Yeah, that's my typical style. Like I have the Q&A, afterwards and what have you, and people come up and we have great discussions, right?
Okay.
Which, and truthfully, that is really what Enterprise Connect is all about, is the discussions with the people.
Right.
So
now you're a big Microsoft fan and follower, and
Yes.
you understand and work with that. That's part of what you do for a living. Why wasn't Microsoft here this year?
yeah, I mean, I think
And I don't need you to let me be clear about that. Microsoft and any company can decide to exhibit or not exhibit, and they make their own decisions, obviously, about what are the right shows for them to be at or not be at. But why weren't they here at all?
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know why they chose not to be, but and I think it's a real loss for all of us, because I think the great part of Enterprise Connect is hearing the different points of view and really, getting to and pushing back at them and going to see different demos. And so, I know Microsoft has a Microsoft 365 community event in Orlando where,
Coming up end of April?
Yes, yeah, that's right. And that's where, of course, Enterprise Connect up until this first year in Vegas was.
Yes.
So I think they're focusing on that. But I think you really do lose something by just going to the individual vendor. It's more of an echo chamber. So, I think it was a loss for the audience, but quite frankly, I'd say it's a loss for Microsoft as well. My session, I was honest. There's a lot of things that Microsoft is doing right, but they're definitely dealing with a complexity problem. And there's a lot of Copilot confusion. And so I tried to, provide a good balance in the session, and I think the feedback was generally good.
Almost every chair was full in your session. You had a lot of people interested in what the Microsoft story was.
Well, and I think that also is kind of part of the reason that, maybe Microsoft wasn't here, is there's a lot of people using Microsoft Office, 450 million and 350 million people using Teams. So, maybe they felt that they've kind of got the critical mass, but clearly I think there is still a lot of interest, and there, realistically, especially in large organizations, as you know, David, people don't just use one platform.
Right.
So I think that they miss telling their integration story, which is important to certainly enterprise customers that we see here.
Well, I advise clients that speak with me about this to never not be at a trade show. Get the smallest booth or meeting room you can, a 10 by 10, whatever, just so you have a presence. And even if you don't want to do that, even if that's not in your budget, you don't want to spend, fine, but show up, send 5 or 6 people, sit in the audience, even if you have to pay to go. That's what was missing, because there was nobody here saying what should have been said about what the Microsoft position was.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I agree with that philosophy. I would encourage someone from Microsoft, maybe they can have a small booth, right? And certainly, I think that they get a lot out of it. The vendors that, we analysts talk to, I think, we provide, unvarnished feedback. And I think that outside of, them always wanting more customers, certainly some of the ones I talked to, they said, the value from Enterprise Connect is those different points of view from the analysts as well, because it's a great, kind of mashup of analysts.
So we're going to go walk over the Brooklyn Bridge and then head back to Caesars Forum for the end of the show and the Locknote and everything else. But stay with us. We'll be right back. Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And socks. So it's the socks that, yeah.
Oh my god! You could edit.
Nice, congratulations. Nice.
So I'm sitting here now with Kevin Sigler of MITRE. You want to tell everybody what MITRE does?
MITRE operates FFRDCs, which are federally funded research and development centers for the federal government.
You're with the government and you're here to help us.
Yes.
Okay, so you've been coming to Enterprise Connect for a number of years now. I know you were on my panel last year and a few years. How many years you've been coming here? Any idea?
Oh, at least 10, maybe more.
Okay, so what did you think of this year's show?
Different, I think, is probably the
First year in Vegas.
first year in Vegas. Yeah, so definitely noticed some confusion a little bit Tuesday morning of people kind of getting the lay of the land, the new format,
Right.
definitely the new location. But as it's ramped up, it's the same old Enterprise Connect. Great conversations, a lot of peer-to-peer interaction, which is really nice for these things.
Did you learn anything you didn't know here? Or was it just more conversations with peers?
No, more conversations with peers. There was a closed door end user session yesterday afternoon, which was really great. Be able to talk to peers in the industry without vendor or manufacturer involvement.
Okay, very nice. What did you get sent the logistics? Did the space work? Did the area work? Did the rooms? Did the lunches? What did you think of it?
I thought it was pretty good for the most part. The rooms were kind of cavernous in some of the more
big place.
intimate conversations. It's a room full of audio people. We're having trouble hearing each other talk across the table just because some of these ceilings got to be 40 feet.
Yeah.
But as far as the rest of the layout, it was really easy to find the sessions and stay on track, I think.
Okay, so let's talk about the biggest stories that came out of this show, like 1, 2, 3 of your top, things that you kind of take away saying, this is something I have to look at and think about that you weren't necessarily thinking about before you got here. But what do you think?
I mean, you can't avoid the AI conversation, right? It's ruling all of our lives at this point. So definitely got to put a lot of emphasis on that, and then as well as security, right? I mean, being federally government adjacent, we place a high value on security, and it was nice to hear that come to the forefront of some of these conversations.
And anything about AI or security that you weren't thinking about that again you're thinking about? Oh, that's a great perspective. I got to bring that back.
Mostly just the privacy stuff, right? This technology is capable of so much more than it maybe should do at this point.
Got it. Okay, so some of the AI is doing some things that you're a little bit concerned about.
Yeah.
You're going to come back to the show next year?
I hope so. Yeah.
Okay. What do you want to hear that you didn't hear this year? Anything that you're missing?
Just the manufacturer component, right? We talked about the show floor, very CX centric. Didn't get a lot of interaction with the manufacturers on the video side that I like to interact with. So like to see them come back.
Yeah, and we were without Microsoft this year.
Yes.
Which was kind of a big deal. But all right, terrific, Kevin. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Glad to see you. We'll be right back.
I'm going to sit down with a few industry analysts and experts. We'll start with a quick take from them on what they saw this week. But then this is open floor for all of you to bring your questions, your ideas, your thoughts for them. So for the session, please join me in welcoming to the stage Cisco Caravala, Dave Michels, Sheila McGee-Smith, and Kevin Keeler. It's a lot's happened this week, and I'm just curious, maybe to get a quick take from each of you on something that stood out. You've led sessions, you've sat in a bunch of meetings, you've seen some things happening. Zeus, let's go. Like, what's one of the big top of mind things for you right now?
I think it really played out the session I did this morning on multi-agent workflows and the complexity that brings. I think, if agentic's actually going to work, it's got to live outside the domain of one application silo. And in this space, anyways, we've historically had a lot of walled gardens. And so we talked a lot about the complexities there. I think there's a strong desire for users to bring agentic in to be able to help them complete a lot of these processes. But along the way, there's a lot of considerations. Like, how do you make sure your data is in order? How do you, who winds up being kind of the Uber agent that decides how these things get distributed across the applications that sit below it? Who handles the security for those things, right? One of the points one of the panelists made was you can't actually apply an agentic agent to a process that's fundamentally broken. So you got to rethink that process as well. And so while at Enterprise Connect 2030, we might have gotten there, between then and now, there's a lot of things we got to do to make that work.
Dave?
I always view Enterprise Connect as my annual snapshot of the industry and look and compare the different Enterprise Connects. And It's remarkable how much this industry is changing. And it wasn't long ago where, the biggest thing on the floor was conversations around WebRTC or SIP, and things like that. And this event is, of course, a lot about AI. But even the diversity of the conversation within AI is absolutely astounding. And I'm going from meeting to meeting to meeting. And there's like an adjustment period you need. What are we talking about? Oh, we're talking this over here. It is remarkable how much enterprise communications as a whole and contact center in particular is being disrupted and reimagined by artificial intelligence.
Yes.
So I think the big news for me is really the big news for the show, which was the announcement of Agentforce Contact Center. This has been the show where contact centers come to be born and sometimes grow, like Amazon Connect, and sometimes not, like Flex. So we're hoping for that. But it is also very disruptive, right? It's about the stack. Where is the CX stack going to live? And for years, there has been the CRM CCaaS divide.
Partnership.
I was just going to say, they've always worked together. But is it time to have just one stack? Does this mean that CCaaS companies will add more CRM? That's possible, right? But CCaaS could be the new WEM, right? WEM, Workforce Engagement Management, disappeared into CCaaS.
There's no reason to insult with them.
Juanita, if you're out there, I'm sorry. But it could be that CCaaS becomes an application of CRM. That's one of the options in front of us.
Yeah, so I was thinking like broad picture, I think back to when there was unified communication. So that was a big theme for the show. And I argued that nobody really wanted unified communications. They wanted what they thought it implied. And I think we're in the same kind of era for AI. I would say no one really wants AI. They want whatever magic they think it brings. And I think that that's what a lot of the discussion was about, is what is the magic that you assume AI is going to deliver? And, I think what we're learning is the good practices for deployment of any technology, like understanding what success looks like, figuring out a plan. We heard at the other panel that training was critically important, figuring out security and risk. These were always things that were important. And I think implementing AI just pressure tests this. So, if you're a technologist doing all the good things that worked in the past, now you simply have to do them way faster with AI.
This is the end of another Enterprise Connect. It's probably
Enterprise Connect 26.
26. I was coming here right after it changed from VoiceCon to Enterprise Connect. You were here when it was VoiceCon, so this has to be 20 years for you?
I don't know, but I it's the first year it's not at the Gaylord. I know that.
Correct.
And I have been looking and I've walked a lot here. I got a lot of steps in. I got so many steps in, my watch is dead. But I cannot find the gators. I have been looking all over for the damn gators. I can't find them.
There's a big aquarium in Caesar's Palace in the Forum shops.
Okay.
And you can see fish and gators and other things in there.
All right.
But not the same, no feeding time here. The only feeding time takes place in the casinos. It's the tourists.
And you're the menu.
You're the food, yeah. Exactly. So it was really an interesting show. It was almost like a show about collaboration where most of the collaboration companies were CX companies. It wasn't as much about pure video meetings, whatever. It was a lot of CX and other type firms.
I think there's a deep metaphor here, but I can't come up with what it is. But I'm sure there is one. But there's always Enterprise Connect has gone through a lot of transitions, including VoiceCon, and we went from the PBX to the IP era. We went from proprietary to SIP, and then we went to the WebRTC and the video, right, and then the whole messaging wave and all that stuff. So Enterprise Connect has done a fantastic job of managing all of these transitions, and they've all gone pretty well, and the show has stayed very relevant on the top of all of that. This transition is different, and
the show itself transitioning.
Well, and so that's part of what the Vegas piece of it is, and part of the transition, but the themes of this show are very, very, very different and diverse. They're all over, and of course, AI is all over everything. But it's just a lot of transition going on here, and it's interesting because you have some of these conversations that are still look at our phone, look what what's going on here. It's like, well, that feels a little dated, but it's still relevant, right? And Vegas itself, that's the metaphor I'm looking for. Vegas itself is a metaphor because I remember. I mean, the Mirage is gone. That was a state of the art. That was a state of the art hotel. Right. I remember when it opened. So Vegas is going through a big transition.
Pause me for a second. Sorry guys, we're doing a little housekeeping here. Badge is brushing against your mic. Keep going. So Vegas transition.
So Vegas. So I'm actually really surprised how different Vegas, because I used to come here all the time, and Vegas is so different. Guy Fieri and Gordon Ramsay have taken over the entire restaurant. Yeah. Every casino here has a Guy Fieri and a Gordon Ramsay restaurant, and the two don't have much in common. But they seem to both like to make burgers. But whatever.
$25 burgers.
Yes, the best. Yeah. Do you remember Carl's Jr.? They had the $5 burger, and it's like, what's a $5 burger? They go, that's what restaurants charge. It only costs $2.50 here at Carl's Jr. That was a great burger. I'd love to find that here. I'd love to find the
I actually did have an In-Out burger while I was here on the promenade, which was very nice. I'm not a big In-Out fan like some of the huge people are, but we've strayed off the topic a little bit.
Just a little.
But Vegas is a great place to have this show. Honestly, where we are, Caesars Forum was not. It was relatively convenient to the hotels we were staying at, but it's enormous. It doesn't have anything in there that Enterprise Connect would have. I'll meet you in the atrium and we'll have a 5-minute conversation. I'll meet you at the coffee shop and it didn't have any. Come to our suite and see our private whisper stuff. None of that was possible this year.
Yeah, the suites were completely out because the hotels are all scattered. Everybody's at different hotels. Right. But even I've been invited to a few dinners or breakfasts. I tried to make a breakfast this morning. I was walking down Las Vegas Boulevard and I passed people that were there. They said, oh, it's over. You already missed it. It's like, I was just looking for a taxi. I don't even know where the damn hotel is.
Exactly.
So it's really, the distances are big. But even in the event here in Caesars Forum, it's like we're at the beginning of it, right, where we're sitting right now. But you keep going down and say, oh, I found the keynote, so this is great. And you keep walking. Oh, I found the expo hall. You keep walking. And then you get the meeting rooms, and there's like more meeting rooms and more. It's like, it's a lot of steps here.
Yeah.
It's a very spread out.
It was a big place, and it was a matter of convenience. Informa got this space because they had already purchased it for their HIM show, which is taking place at the same time, which was another issue. A number of the vendors here were splitting their teams between the two trade shows.
Yeah.
But now let's avoid the logistics. Were a question. They've already announced they're coming back to Vegas next year, but in a different venue. MGM Grand. So that's in a hotel, which in theory should have suites.
Lions. Forget the Gators. They got Lions now.
Lions.
Top of the food chain.
And then we have the Sphere. You have the Tigers and Bears. Oh my. Anyway. So let's talk about the technology. There was really only one huge announcement at the show this year, right?
Well, no, there were actually a lot of announcements. You don't ask me to recite the announcements. Put it this way: the insider report that's coming up in 3 weeks is going to be a little longer than usual. There was a lot of news here, but I think what you're referring to is the Salesforce announcement.
What is it for lay people who don't understand?
And so Salesforce has announced that they're going to get into the CCaaS space. There is a predictable amount of fanfare. Yay, this is great.
It's been rumored for a long time.
It's been rumored for a while, and I think there's going to be some issues with this. But it's actually, AI is disrupting everything, and so Salesforce has a new problem. They have to recreate their value proposition, and we all do to some degree. So I understand that, but I think this might be the wrong way to do it. There's a very established, mature partnership between almost every CCaaS provider and CRMs and Salesforce in particular. We know what each other does. One does great database application, another one does real-time engagement, and that was pretty well understood. The problem is the real-time engagement is now becoming its own source of truth with generative AI, and is becoming very valuable training data. And Salesforce says, hey, we want some of that, but it's really going to upset the pecking order and these partnerships that are so well understood. And I think it's going to, I think the CCaaS providers have a hill to climb to possibly recreate an application like a CRM. It's going to take at least 3 or 4 prompts to do that. But I think Salesforce is going to have, I'm going to guess, a decade-long journey to build a global, real-time, omni-channel infrastructure that can match what the leaders do today. So I think
it's the start of a journey, not the end of a journey.
They're picking a battle that they're not the best equipped to handle. I'll say that.
And they may be losing some partners along the way. So that's it's an interesting way of approaching it.
And it's put everyone in the middle, because like I said, this partnership is so well understood. So you might be like an enterprise saying, well, great, I could have one throat to choke, I could have one vendor and do all this stuff. Oh, but I have 2 CRMs, I don't just have Salesforce. Or, oh, I'm a federal agency, I need FedRAMP. Oh, I have these requirements that they're years away from being able to deliver.
Now, another one of the big stories about the show was who wasn't here this year. Kevin Keeler did a great presentation on Copilot and the announcement of the E7, and it was packed because people are interested in Microsoft, but Microsoft was nowhere to be found.
So it's really surprising on 2 levels. One, it's surprising they're not exhibiting and being a big keynote presentation. It's also surprising I haven't seen them walking around. And that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to, we're not going to exhibit this year, but we'll have people there to do meetings and whatnot. Right. I've talked about this before. I've talked about this with you before. One of the transitions that's occurring in our industry is that these types of events are less about showrooming and less about customers and more about a place where the industry gets together and talks. Mm-hmm. And we were just at ISE, and that's what that show's about. That show is about, there's customers there, which is wonderful, but it's a place where everybody meets. And Mobile World Congress was last week, and that show is also about everyone getting together and meeting. Enterprise Connect has served that role in our industry for a long time, and it's really a shame when the vendors don't show up.
I think we're losing our backdrop. That'll be fun.
Oh dear. All right.
That's okay. You keep going. Everybody knows we're at Enterprise
But it's
Connect
really a shame because when vendors don't show up, even if they don't attend, even if they're not exhibiting, they should show up to keep the conversations going.
I agree, and I think it was a mistake for them not to be here at all. I think they were proving a point, which I understand, but people were interested in the information and should have been here. And I said something to people.
That was really rude, actually.
It was. They should have said something.
I was going to take it home with me. I was looking for it, but
When they pack up, they pack up. I said something to a few people at the show, which I think was actually a fair statement, which is, and I'm not being mean or inappropriate, I learned nothing from the keynotes at the show. I learned nothing from the sessions at the show. I learned nothing from the exhibitors at the show. But I learned a heck of a lot of stuff from the one-on-one conversations I had with the people that were here. That alone was worth it for me to be here, because did you hear this was happening? No, by the way, that's going on. This is the thing we're going to be talking about next week. It's not so much the official presentations, which is sort of the envelope that surrounds these things. The real meat that's inside the envelope, it's a place where we can get together to have these conversations.
Well, I can't confirm or deny that I haven't watched the keynotes here. I usually don't watch the keynotes here. I watch them when I get back to my headquarters office and watch them on demand, which will be posted in about a week, they say. Mm-hmm. They got to send it out to Kodak and all that. But I find it hard to believe, and I'm going to challenge you on this, that you didn't learn from those keynotes, because again, I haven't seen them, so I can't say anything definitively now. But I have met with a lot of the vendors. There were some announcements on the stage. I think what I do when I listen to these keynotes is I listen really carefully to what they choose to talk about, what they choose to not talk about, and what they prioritize in their messaging. And I think there's always a lot to be learned there. So I'm going to say that you were probably a little too tired during those keynotes.
Possibly, but I was popping M&Ms to stay awake.
Yeah.
But again, my point is the 10, 15 conversations I had one-on-one with other attendees,
Incredible.
with vendors.
That's why vendors need to come. That's why the vendors need to come here. And so, yeah, I think it's really important that the vendors come here. And I mentioned earlier when they were taking down the sign, I lost my train of thought about how important the meetings are coming. And this transition from showrooming to meetings has been gradual, but really becoming very clear to me. And so you talked about the atrium at the Gaylord. Well, nobody knew what was here, and nobody knew where to have their meetings. But they ended up opening that whole workspace, that whole meeting area that was kind of nice. There's all these chairs not too far from over here. And so once we, it's a shame we won't be here again.
Correct. We'll have to do it all over again next year.
But we really need to be clear about. I think we need to go into these events with the objective of having either one-on-one or small group or whatever meeting interactions. I think the showrooming thing in an industry that has become all soft, all applications, demos that I could watch on the YouTube. We don't need showrooms on the expo hall. And a lot of the booths actually, Audio Codes, Mitel, Zoom, a lot of the booths on the show floor had meeting rooms this year. And I think that's a really smart move because it's all about meetings.
And the booths that didn't have meeting rooms, there were a lot of them that didn't have hardware, that didn't have software, that weren't demo. First of all, there were a load of plushes. I mean, the EC26 sign at the end of the show had all the giveaway, plush, squeezable, whatever they were. But they're just meeting spots. They're just spots to come find the person. And that's one of the things I've recommended for forever. When we go to these shows like Infocom and ISE and shows like, you don't need to build a city and have these enormous booths. You just need a touchdown place where you can meet people and organize how you're getting together with them at dinner, at private meetings, at whatever else is going on. So there were a lot of people doing that as well.
But I thought you were going to talk about the swag in particular, but because I do think the plush is a good swag, and I was talking to one of the other analysts.
Keep talking. I'm going to drag over some plush.
I was talking to one of the other analysts, and he was saying that he's going to leave a lot of the swag in his hotel room, and I know that. I've done that. Yeah, so I've done that before.
By the way.
I leave lots of swag in the hotel room, but anybody who has kids, which is most people here, can always take home a.
There's Ring Central, Ring Central
swag.
Unicorn.
So
and Ring Central socks to go around the Ring Central.
There you go. You did good.
Yeah. You walk the show the last day, and when everybody's around there, and they don't want to have to carry the stuff back, so they'll give anything away. So that was nice. There was a claw machine that Salesforce.
I saw that.
And that's it. So, but again, that's fun and it's enjoyable, but it's not really the point of the show. All right. So, biggest takeaway before having seen the keynotes?
Well, the biggest takeaway for me is I think that we're really re-examining the value of everybody's solution and value proposition is in transition. And it's not just what they do, but how they charge for it, the outcome-based type of models, how much they can mine conversations and for training their AI. This is the first year, a company called Crescendo won Best of Show, and it's the first year, to my knowledge, and they're going to be very upset if I call them a BPO, but a BPO won Best of Show at Enterprise Connect. It's like, well, how did they do that? Well, they took a BPO that was doing a bunch of stuff with human operators, and they figured out how to do it with AI, and that's their business model. It's like, wow, that's I'm starting to read about that. That's what they call outcome as a service and stuff like that. So I think we're all kind of re-examining that, and for that to be Best of Show at a show like this, I think is really kind of a warning sign that this industry is changing dramatically.
Well, also I'll give you a counterpoint to that, and I just finished judging the AV Americas awards, and they just announced the winners. And the winner of Best Integrator of the Year was an integrator called AVI SPL, who gave a very nice presentation. I was one of the judges, very pleased to do that. They were the only entrant. So, they deserved to win, but again, there was no competition. There was one other entrant, and they didn't give a presentation. So I don't know how many, are there too many trade shows? Are there too many awards? Are there too many, are we watering this down a little bit too much? And it's interesting. We have to keep an eye on it.
I think so again, Enterprise, I don't want Enterprise Connect to become less relevant. I think Enterprise Connect is one of the most important events of the year for me. I always go through every keynote with a fine-tooth comb. I always write up an annual report because I use them as a snapshot year to year and how the industry is changing. And to me, there's no other replacement for Enterprise Connect. And so you could say, well, it's not a contact center show. I'm going to go to a contact center show. It's like, well, this is the Enterprise Comms show, and so the CPaaS for vendors, CPaaS, CCaaS, UCaaS, the hardware device makers are here, the room systems are here. They should all be here, and that's what's so important about Enterprise Connect. And so I think that we saw some vendors disappear. We saw that some shipped to ISE in the video space because Enterprise Connect Florida got a little too expensive, and so I'm hoping that as they find their new way here in Vegas, that they are able to attract many of these smaller vendors,
the vendors
the
want
broader
customers.
Yeah,
the vendors.
But I'm saying forget the
customers.
customer. That's their problem. They need to stop being focused on. That's the old model of thinking. We have to justify the number of leads we get. No, you need to be at an industry event once a year where everybody comes together. The channel partners, the analysts, the consultants, some end users are great. And it's all really an important event where we all kind of talk about what's going on in the industry. We have sessions, and that's the thing that we can't lose. And so I think when we get too focused on where the customers, they snap their fingers. 5 vendors will show up. I mean, they don't need to travel here. We shouldn't expect them to come. This is a tough city. Well, I remember when we used to go anywhere in Vegas for $10 in a taxi. Right. You can't even get in and out of a taxi for. Right. Yeah.
But I'll agree with you. I'll agree with you that that's what the show should be. But if you ask the vendors are saying, I don't think it's worth it to be spending this money because I'm not getting the badge scans from end user customers.
That's the old way of thinking. Tell those vendors they're better off putting a coupon in a magazine because
nobody makes magazines anymore.
That's the old way of thinking, right? That's the old way of thinking. And so the new way of thinking is to be part of the conversation. And so most of these vendors here are not going to be invited to Microsoft Ignite because they're not Microsoft partners. Most of them are not going to be invited to WebEx One because they're not Cisco partners. Most of them are not going to be invited to Amazon reInvent because they're not Amazon partners. This is the event. This is the one event a year, only one, where everybody just needs to come, everyone's invited, and the goal is to be part of the conversation. And if you're still looking for number of leads and all that stuff, stay home. You're right.
Okay, well,
You're
that's
just going to be disappointed.
That's a problem that's going to need to be solved. Well, I don't think you and I are not going to solve it.
I solved it.
Well, I think what we should do is after you look at the keynotes, we should go back and do another show and talk about what you've seen on the keynotes. I had one circumstance, which I know we're going to disagree about, but not until you've seen the keynotes, where 3 end users separately, completely different times, walked up to me and said, "What's their product?" So we may be getting a little too buzzwordy up on that stage, not really substantial. And again, after you do the keynotes, I think we should have that as a conversation.
But I'm going to defend that, and I've seen enough of the keynotes from the clips and the conversations I've had. I think I could defend that because the product isn't. That's what I'm saying. We're not a showroom anymore, right? And so the product is often an integration, and the product is often a part of a workflow, and communications enabling those workflows to be more efficient. And in in the spaces that we cover together, first the back, now the front.
It's all falling apart.
It's all show's over. Right. But the nature of enterprise communications is not really a product anymore. It's a workflow, and workflows are really hard to present and demo because everybody has a different one. And so I think that's going to be the nature of our business for the next several years. That it's just, you can't demo.
If that's true, you're not going to get that in a 25-minute presentation up on a stage with a few hundred people there. That message is not going to come through. It needs to come through in a more thorough environment there where people care about it.
Yeah, there's certainly an element of that because the audience needs to grow and adapt too. Our expectations as an audience and what we expect from a keynote have to evolve. And so a lot of times when there's a new way of doing something, let's say, using AI chatbot or something, we try to use it like Google search. It doesn't work the way we wanted it to. It doesn't give me links. Where's my damn links? But then we start to learn, this is what it does. This is what I ask it. This is how I use it. So it's the same, we're in a new area. The AI is moving so quickly, what it can do, what the vendors enable it to do, the value proposition, it's all changing very quickly, and we're going through a period of seeing better analogy, throwing things on the wall and seeing what sticks. And it's going to take a while. And all of these vendors, they're pitching solutions that we're not sure we had problems for. And I've sat through this in analyst briefings, and they're so proud of what they can do. And I say, what problem are we solving here? I don't remember, and it's like once they finally get that aha, I was, now I get it. But that's a really hard thing to do on a mass level on a keynote stage.
And it's also very hard to tell a manufacturer that message is not being effectively communicated. I know you get it, but you are communicating a forest and you're not letting people know what's going on there. So they should hire good analysts to help them along.
Well, that's a really interesting thing, because that's another conversation, because our industry is also whether you call it analysts or call it consultants or advisory, but we read things and summarize things and come up with insights, and it's like, well, I thought AI does all that. So our value proposition is also changing, because we're using the AI to help us do our jobs, and we're creating different things. But the bottom line is, and this is what the important part, is that everyone's confused. That's where people like us do really well, and so we need to change our model, not just regurgitating what's happening on the keynote stage and stuff like that, but to really explain what to unconfuse people.
Well, at the Gaylord last year, I remember at least one, maybe two, but at least one of the company's press releases and announcements was co-written by you, because they reached out to you in advance and said, this is what we're presenting, how should we phrase this so it'll stick? They shouldn't be doing these keynotes here for the first time or practicing them in front of their own company. They should be doing them in front of an external intelligent party to see if the message is getting across. And this is what they do on Broadway. Broadway directors hire other directors to come in and get a different perspective, because they're all too close to it. So that's how we solve it. They hire us, we look at their keynotes in advance.
You know how Times Square, they're always trying to get people to come in to be some studio audience?
Right.
Come on in for a comedy show, whatever. They should have people out on the strip, come on in and watch these keynotes.
Tell us what you think.
Yeah,
exactly. Okay. So that's pretty much it from Las Vegas for Enterprise Connect 2026. We will have more to talk about over the next few weeks.
We're going to talk about the $25 burger.
Insider reports and a $25 burger.
Yeah, the March Insider report's going to be...
Yeah, and I'll give you criticism. It's too wordy. Make it shorter. Role reversal. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys at NAB. We'll be here, and you'll be, who knows what the next one you're going to be at.